Welcome to the Planet Paintball Podcast, the ultimate podcast for paintball enthusiasts. Each week, we dive into the world of paintball, bringing you stories, insights, and tips from players, coaches, and industry insiders. Sponsored by 1023 Sportswear. Looking for high-quality gear that performs as hard as you do? Check out 1023 Sportswear. And as a listener of the Planet Paintball Podcast, you can get 20% off your order with the code PLANETPaintball. Suit up, save big, and play your best.
Welcome back to the Planet Paintball Podcast. If you don't mind, give us a like and subscribe, or give us a review on Spotify or Apple Music. We'd like to thank our show sponsors, 1023 Sportswear, for all your custom paintball apparel, Southwest Paintball in Bayfield, Colorado, and Lawrence Landscaping in Greenville, South Carolina, here to take care of all your landscaping needs. Welcome to the show, John Tinker, legendary Carolina player, Gridlock, Baltimore Drama, to name a few. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty well.
I can't complain. The sun came out. Kind of, yeah, a lot of rain. So you guys been getting that too up there in Greensboro?
Definitely up in the mountains again too, a good bit.
Okay. Are you in Greensboro, or are you more west or east of it?
No, I'm in Greensboro.
Okay.
I'm at dead center.
Okay, nice. So, let's start off. Well, we always start off. How did you find paintball, man?
Okay, all right. You touched on this earlier, and I'm not sure. I can't really remember how I've said it in the past, but I went to a magazine store with my dad, who was looking for books, and I found this old magazine laying on the floor in a pile of magazines, and it said "Check" on it. And I sat there and dug through or flipped through a few pages and was in awe of these guys in camouflage with paintball guns, and dug through and found a bunch more. And from then on, it was trying to figure out where I could go play to try to get my dad to go take me. That was I think I was 15 or 16 years old at that time. I think it was 15 because I couldn't drive.
Okay.
But yeah, that was how it really started. And, just kind of progressed from there, finding the local fields and driving everywhere to play. And then eventually some fields opened here that were like, the fields back then, like they weren't open every weekend, and it wasn't always at the same place in this area. There was there was only one field that I eventually found. Actually, that's not true. There were two fields that were around for a while that I eventually found and started playing at. And then just kind of all progressed there with Rob and Lane opening at Paintball Central, and Rob, and eventually working my way from the landscaping into Paintball Central.
Okay. What was the first
It's a little boring.
What was the first home field, if you will, for you?
My first home field would have been a place called Off Premises, and it was a stock class pump field.
Okay.
So what too far from where I am now? It's probably 30 minutes, 40 minutes away, and we played bounces counted.
Okay.
And we had the little, the 12 grams with the 10 round tubes, the rocket, phantoms and all that. So that was my first home field. And then I went from there to another field a little bit closer called Flying Colors. And I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I have, actually.
Have you? Okay. Went from there. Paintball Zone was open, and that was run by a guy named Tim Brady. But that was before Paintball Central came around. And then, I played at Flying Colors for a couple of years and helped out at Paintball Zone, and then Paintball Central opened and bought that location. Or actually, technically, bought all three of those fields.
Okay, wow. So was that what the Rock Hill location was originally?
No, the Rock Hill location was the paintball spot, that was owned by Eddie Lawrence.
Yeah, that was that was one of my first CFOAs that I went to. that was wild. Nets weren't quite high enough at the time and all that.
I was gonna say I remember that because the nets were, you had to walk around kind of ducked in a few areas.
Yeah, I had a buddy who took off, the face shield and just had the whippersnappers on, and that's how he walked around all day.
Definitely, they used to play like that. I never played during that era of tournament paintball. So we always had the mask. Definitely spectated many fields were spectating. You had to wear those like that.
Yeah, and that's that's a wild error to think that we didn't have the grill piece.
Oh, yeah. I had to put up, JT mask, so I didn't have anything here on the sides. A lot in the front, but I got shot once or twice in the mouth, and it wasn't the best Best feeling.
Yeah. It's never fun when you take one in the mouth.
Especially when it gets and a ball hits right there, just all in your mouth.
Yeah. What was one of your first markers?
Their first one was a splatness.
Okay.
Like, yeah, that's what I found it at a flea market, and that was after finding those magazines. So it was a Splatmaster, the one you had to. It took a 12 gram, and it was the green plastic pistol.
Where you had to cock it in the back every time. Yeah.
That was the first one. Then the Kingman hammer, and then I had a VM68, and then a micro mag, autocockers, more mags, more autocockers. Just kind of went through all that phase. I shot autocockers all the way up until Airtech Industries came out with the Matrix.
Oh, really? So that was what, 2002 when they came out, or was it a little earlier? Yeah.
I want to say I can't remember if it was 99 or 2000, but we held a tournament at Paintball Central, and it was the biggest 5-man that North Carolina had ever had. And the Diablo truck came down, Richmond came down, and we had a pneumatic version of the Matrix. Yeah, it was actually a really neat event. A couple Canadian teams came down, and this is back when, like, I don't know if you know the team names, Tag Team, Tidewater, and some other teams from like the Virginia areas and stuff like that.
Okay.
It was pretty, but yeah, they came out with that, I think 99 or 2000, and then we became the service center, so traveled to Canada. We got to hand build our own guns. I still have a plaque that says I'm an Airtech Industries technician.
Nice.
But yeah, so I shot those for a long time.
Yeah. You weren't cool if you didn't have a Matrix Center sticker somewhere on your gear back in the day.
I still have some of those.
Yeah. I had a water bottle until about 6 months ago, and I don't know where it went, but it still had one of those stickers on it. So, yeah.
I still have those. Like, I don't know what it is. I love stickers. So I've got like this bag, probably not like that big, it's just full of stickers that will probably never go on anything, but I've got them. So every now and then I'll just
Well, as soon as you put them on something, like, you lose that thing, you know. That bottle also had the old envelope.
That's where room to
The
do
what?
that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting to get to where I can have like my own room where I can like just put I don't know, like a workbench or something in there.
Yeah, that would be a cool wall, like an old paintball sticker bomb wall. That would be awesome. Yeah. Well, I just got some stickers in today, so you'll have to shoot me your address later, and I'll send you some. So,
Same for later.
yeah. Or I'll see you at the next Blitz if you're gonna be up there. So,
I believe it will be.
did you play the last one, or?
No, the last one we played the first one and it was a lot of fun. I think we came up with a really good format. The last one we couldn't make it. A couple of the guys weren't able to play, and I just didn't really want to do a throw together. Just wasn't able to put anything together for that one. So hopefully we can do this next one. I know we're planning on the 7-man too.
Got to do the 7-man. The 7-man's gonna be fun. So when did it go into tournaments for you? When did it take that turn?
The first tournament I ever played was a pump tournament. This thing's falling on me here. I'm sorry. Was a pump tournament, and I went with a guy named Nick and my little brother, and we had a blast. I finished third. There weren't that many teams there, so it wasn't like super impressive, but it was a lot of fun. And I still have the trophy.
Oh, that's awesome.
But what really started it was at Flying Colors. There were a few guys out there that wanted to get into it, and so we just started going around to anywhere that held a tournament, whether it was 2-man, 3-man, 5-man. It was all Carolina stuff, so we weren't traveling. We ran into a couple other guys from a couple of different teams that were breaking off like once Paintball Central started.
Okay.
And they wanted to form a new team. And me, Shannon Monroe, Brian Hudson, and Mark DeLuke. I think you know Mark DeLuke, old CFOA ref, used to play.
Yeah, I've met him.
Got Mark Davis. There was somebody else, I can't remember their name. They didn't stay on the team. They kind of were just there.
Okay.
But we formed Gridlock. I think it was in 97, late 97, and started playing in 98, I think.
Okay, so you're a founding member of Gridlock.
Yeah. Me and Shannon Monroe are the last two from that original 5 that are still playing.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's something. So all these years later, it's still getting down with at least still Shannon.
Yeah. I mean, and then once we went 10-man, like a lot of those guys kind of came back out of the woodwork, or at least for a little while. Alan, he's been around for, gosh, I think it was 2000 when he started playing with us.
Okay.
Can't really, sometimes those years get a little fuzzy, but
Yeah.
he's still playing. So three of us play, all the time. We'll go out there on Saturdays and just screw around playing mech and just play on the hyperball field, just to have fun, run drills against each other. Rarely we'll do some snap shooting, but like sometimes we'll do that.
No one likes snap shooting.
But we do a lot of the regional stuff, like Bambi Bullards, her ACTS stuff,
Okay.
independent tournaments. The CFOA cranked up under Larry Moats, and I can't remember the old partner, but Josh Silverman was involved with that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So we played as many of those as we could, and we racked up a pretty impressive um, pile of trophies back then.
Yeah, you guys did.
I think we podiumed at just about every event we went to. And we started traveling with that one. We were going to Virginia and Tennessee and Georgia, and this was 5-man before we really got cranked up. 99 is when we actually went to our first World Cup as a 10-man team. We put together 2 5-man squads and did that. And then we had such a good time that we're like, this is what we do now. So we missed the first event in LA of 2000 because it was just we didn't get the team together, and everybody thought it was kind of expensive to fly out there. Tried to start the season, so we started in Pittsburgh of 2000.
Okay. So, and for those that don't know, like Gridlock became this massive organization. How was it to go from like a single team into this big organization?
So it went through a couple phases. Gridlock as a 10-man team, we were around through 2003. We ref LA, played Vegas, and then personal commitments, job changes, money, several things kind of just caused the team to fall apart. Several guys, Ken was part of the team, Ken Barrett, Shannon, Monroe. We broke up. I went on to play with Mayhem. Alan Barker played with Mayhem too. And that's a lot of young trauma kids like Jay Wall, Porterfield, Robbie, oh my gosh, Robbie Pettinelli. For some reason, I was working on his last name, but there was quite a few of those guys that went on to play on trauma. And so we played 2 events, and then that following year, some of those kids they started a whole new team, got picked up on trauma. And then I started playing with Kim Barrett on XSF.
Okay.
For that part of the year. Gridlock had disappeared, fallen apart. Roy Sears wanted to start a program. I think he had been talking with Rob. I forget the whole story, but they talked about it and came to me and Shannon. Were like, "Hey, can we start up the Gridlock team again?" And we want to build a farm team program. We're like, "Yeah, absolutely." And so, I left Ken to join the new Gridlock team, and then it just exploded. We played LA in that torrential downpour.
Yeah.
Inside the fourth stadium, the fourth track, not fourth stadium, and we started doing tryouts, and it just got to the point to where, you'd have tryouts, and there's 80 to 100 kids out there.
Wow.
Kids, not all kids, adults, just
younger players.
Yeah. So it was fine. Like everything, it felt good. It felt right. The 10-man team fell apart as X Ball was starting. A lot of those guys, some of those guys would go to XSF. Some of us went to Mayhem, and a few people quit playing. But for the most part, for the first little bit, I think just about everybody played. Shannon stepped back from X Ball. It wasn't didn't want to play it.
Okay.
Which is funny because, Gridlock came back as an X Ball team, and then, 07, everything fell apart again. I'd moved to Trauma in 05, and Gridlock was doing great, but there was a lot of personal, not myself, just people in general on the team that were making different decisions about what they wanted to do with the next phase of their life. And so Trauma split, and inevitably meant that the program broke up. And so Gridlock broke up as well. So then, from there, it just kind of went away again. A bunch of us kind of stopped playing for a little while. And then Shannon actually started playing with his son in some 3-mans, and they started playing under Gridlock, borrowing jerseys from different people for, to play in. And then they started playing X Ball again. Shannon was the coach. The kid was playing, or some Andrew Gibson and some of the other people were playing. Chaz Holt, several other people were playing under that name. And then, 2017, I think it was, or 2018, when Lane Wright did his.
Oh, his 10-man down there. I feel like it was 18.
Whichever year it was, we called the team back together. And we're like, hey, we're going to go play 10 man again. So we made some phone calls and went down in Atlanta and had a good time playing 10 man again. And then went to Pittsburgh the next year and we're just like, all right, we're doing it again. So everybody that stopped playing, like everybody just wanted to play again. And then we started doing some local, most of us had dropped in rank. So it took me years. I'm D3 again.
Finally squeezed in those local events.
Yeah. So we played off and on the CPXL and CPSL and some of the events. And some events we done well, and other events we didn't do so good. But we ended up having a pretty good year the last year that we played under Gridlock in the X-Ball, and that was in the CPXL. The 10-man thing is where it's at. That's where we're really all sticking together. We had some younger guys playing with us, but all the old guys are all playing the 10-man thing now. That's just, I'm glad that came about,
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love mechanical. Bust out the free flow cocker for it and go to town. Got the mech frame for the DSR, and it's fun. I don't know what else you can say about it. It's a lot of fun, and it feels like paintball to me. So not that X-Ball's not fun. I love playing X-Ball too, but if
it's a different feeling playing 10-man mechanical versus playing X-Ball and playing point after point after point. You'll see some people make some good plays and stuff like that, but it's so repetitive. Like you go play somebody that every single time there's going to be this dude's always going to run the snake or something, and you can adjust and you can beat them and things like that. But 10-man, it's unexpected. Like the fields. A lot of people are going to play the fields similar, but like you go to Pittsburgh Urban Assault and you play that big woods field. Yeah, like a lot of people are going to go to some of those same bunkers, but there's a lot of other stuff. Are they going to push the bottom hard? Are they push the top? Are they going to push through the middle? Are they going to low crawl like halfway through the field and you never even know they're there? There's been some very interesting game plans and stuff like that. Like the mounds. Everybody always pushes the snake, but I've seen teams win from the bottom just by slamming, the bottom side. Nobody expects it. So it's a different dynamic.
So did you take a break during that time and come back, or?
After Trauma broke up, I definitely took a break. I didn't intentionally do it at first. I figured it'd be kind of fairly easy to get on with another team. But if you recall, in 2007, I think there were 3 other teams that broke up.
Yeah.
And so, like, all of a sudden, instead of just one team or with a handful of guys looking to keep playing, you've got like 30 or 40 guys. And so, I didn't reach out to anybody, so just fell off for a while.
Okay.
So
what?
I played like an event here and there, like a local one, but for the most part, I just kind of stopped playing tournaments.
Gotcha. Did you keep playing recreationally, or?
For a time period, I did. Once I left Paintball Central, I actually took a couple years. I didn't really play paintball at all.
Okay.
I met my wife Carly when I was running the paintball field, so that was a really good thing. And then she actually wanted to go to some scenarios, so we started going to Fulda Gap with a big crew from a bunch of the older guys from Gridlock. I don't want to say older, but like old teammate.
Yeah.
And then so we started doing that, and then during that time frame is when everything, they started playing the 3-man, and everything just kind of kicked back up. I took a couple years off from playing like national events, and only play. I think it was about a 5-year period. I played like maybe 3 events.
Okay.
I'd have to look at my APPA to see. I can't really remember, but
so you just slowed down for a little bit. You didn't go cold turkey, and there wasn't like an event to pull you back in, type thing.
No, just slowly kind of crept back into it.
Okay.
Saw friends starting to play again, and went out and just had some fun, and just kind of it just drew me back in watching them play. And then actually, if I had to give tournament paintball like a new try, it was Lane's event. Like that really made me want to start playing tournaments again. So yeah, that I would say that would be the event that brought me back in.
Okay.
So
nice. Was it just getting back with the boys, the format? What re-energized you?
Get to see my buddies again on the weekend. The format was a lot of fun. I just, I'd gotten kind of I guess, burned out on paintball for a little bit, working in it and, working in it for close to 15 years, 14 and a half, something like that. And then all the traveling and everything, like it took its toll for, things. My life changed a lot back then. So it going back out there, getting to see all these good guys, all these good friends that I hadn't seen in forever, getting to be involved and, having camaraderie again. I mean, I was pretty big into, shooting and instructing firearms and stuff there for a little while too. So that kind of kept me out of it as well.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So yeah, that group of friends is a little disappointed I'm back into tournament paintball now, but they're proud of me.
Yeah. What, because you did some training sessions with Rob Long's wife, right?
I did.
Yeah. So were you into like a 3-gun or what kind of hooked you in that?
Yeah, so I'm competitive. Just about anything I do. Doesn't mean I'm good at it, but I'm competitive about it. And so I did go to some 2-gun and some 3-gun stuff. Middle of the pack. I wasn't super duper fast or anything like that, but I had a good time. Thomas McGarity, I don't know if you remember him, but he played in the Gridlock divisional teams and was around here, and we'd go and shoot some of these 2-gun zombie shoots and stuff like that. It was just fun. I really, really enjoyed it. And then, I got into instructing a lot and down near Fayetteville, working with a lot of different people down there. And that was a good time. And, eye-opening experiences and such, character building, all that stuff.
Eye-opening.
Yeah. I mean, the group that I was with down there it's a very solid group of people. And, they helped me grow as a person too. And, they're still down there. Unfortunately, the range closed, but, they got a new cabin off in the woods and they're happy and got a private range. So might need to make a trip down there before too long, but yeah, so solid experiences there too.
All right. And let's kind of focus back into paintball, I guess. So this year you guys are not retiring the Gridlock name, but playing under a different name for the ICPL coming up.
So there was some talk, and so Gridlock has been playing. We basically with Gridlock, we brought back a bunch of the old guys, and then some of them stopped playing after an event or two, or could only come back for a couple. Couldn't really commit, and we weren't trying to play like the whole ICPL or anything like that. But we started dragging some of the old trauma guys out. So David Wooten, Tyler, everybody knows Tyler Humphrey. But we also got some of the guys that played on Growl, Robbie Bendig, Zach Freese, Josh Barton, old trauma head. I think Robbie played in the Gridlock for a few events. I can't remember how many, but Ryan Hart, we brought, Cowboy Roy, Roy Richard moved to Charlotte, and I reached out to him, asked him if he wanted to play paintball and, come hang out and all that. And just, we brought a bunch of people into it, and everybody wanted to play paintball again. Not like every event, every tournament, or X-ball this, X-ball that, but, I got a few of the guys to play a little bit of X-ball with me too. But we were approached and had talked about it in the past. Shannon and I and Alan basically own the Gridlock name. So we were playing under that because it wasn't my place to say, all right, we're going to play under Trauma now. But through some conversation with Tyler, it was decided that we would start this year, play the ICPL series and play under Trauma in the pro division. So after talking to Trosen, we're going to be in Maryland in 3 weeks.
Yeah, about 3 weeks, 22nd or something like that, I think.
It's like the 30th.
Or is it the 30th?
Yeah, it's the last weekend. Weekend. So not this weekend, not the next weekend, but so 3 weeks. 3 weekends from now, we'll be up in Maryland. So it's mostly the same squad. I'm just not in charge of it anymore, which is fine. Tyler's got the reins, but he's going to be there each event this year instead of just one event with us. So, and then, it's a little different. Like we've already had a little practice and we're going to have another practice. And, it's like the guys are, everybody's pretty stoked about it, because at some point, just about everybody on the squad that's playing under Trauma now has actually played for Trauma. So it's, it's kind of, circled back to doing that way. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun getting to play more 10-man events and, playing under the Trauma name again. It's kind of full circle, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit, right?
Started their pro and going back in the pro division again.
Yeah.
Won't get those pro points to keep me from playing locally, hopefully.
No, I don't think they do that to you in the ICPL.
Yeah. But
which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We're all excited. We're all excited to do it. So,
Nice. So does that mean we're going to get to see some new, fresh trauma gear potentially?
yeah. There's some pretty cool design, some pretty cool stuff coming. I don't want to leak too much of it because I don't know the time frame. So I don't know how long it's going to take for some of the stuff to come out, but we'll see. But there's definitely going to be some new cool trauma stuff. It'll be limited stuff, I guess. I don't know exactly how we're doing all that kind of stuff, merchandising, if you will. But there's definitely going to be some new trauma jerseys, so I get to put a new one in my closet.
That'll be nice. Sure, the old one has a lot of miles on it at this point.
Yeah. I had to retire one on the screen printing was falling off of it.
Oh, yeah, time to throw that in the shadow box and call it a day.
Basically, yeah, it's right
that
there.
one. Okay, just out of shot.
I don't know if you can see that.
We can see the very bottom of it, but no. Well, that's fun. Then Tyler, he went to you guys went and won one of the Iron City Classics, right?
No, we won. No, unfortunately, no. We have. I think the best we finished at the ICC was third place 10-man.
Okay.
And a third place 5-man the year before. But we won. Let me think here. We finished second at the Pro DNA last year, and third at ICC.
Nice.
2 years prior to that, we won the 2 CFOA 10-mans in Greensboro, and then last year we finished second. We stepped on it, and we finished second. Image won.
They got a good group of guys.
Oh yeah, they got a good team, and they got good people on it. Earl's a really nice guy, and I've seen those guys, and he used to come down and practice as Image, the old team back in 03 against us, and down in Greensboro. So.
Well, and talk about like kind of sister teams to Trauma, if you will. Trauma kind of got birthed out of Image falling apart at one point. It's cool to see Gridlock and Image at the same event. Feels like I've stepped back into early 2000s a little bit.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Well, and we're gonna still play some events under the Gridlock name, just because we, like I said, I can put together some boys and play in the 5-man blitz and play in the 7-man. I mean, it's up to Tyler what events we play under. Tyler and the guys, like, what we play under is Trauma.
Okay.
But Trauma's focused on 10-man.
Gotcha.
So.
Right. But we'll still see Gridlock out at maybe the 5-man retro event.
Yeah, probably.
Midsummer. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that event's a lot of fun.
It is. Yeah.
The small fields and stuff make it a lot of fun. That little hyperball field, I love that field. I'm sure it's going to change
fun one.
for this next one.
Yeah, he did a really good job making that field, though. Like, I really enjoyed that.
Flip and Andrew did that one, I believe. Steven might have helped him with it. I can't remember. But that field to me is a lot of fun. We just, it's been the same since the first Mech 5-man on there.
Yeah.
As right now, like I said, they might make some changes. I don't know. Regardless, if they do, I'm sure it'll still be fun. But it'd almost be kind of fun to leave it the same, kind of like old SC Village fields and stuff like that. You just knew what the field was going to be when you got there,
Yeah, you get a feel for it.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I'm going to say that it's our home field, but there's a lot of home teams that play.
Slight advantage, but there's a lot of home teams there, so.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the, I guess they call it the hybrid field for the 10-man, the woods ball field.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hyperball in the woods with trees.
Yeah. I was not sold when I saw it, but after getting to play it the last couple of years, it's quickly becoming one of my favorite fields. Although you stalemate on it, but it's still a fun one.
Yeah. And they've tried to address it. They've added some bunkers, taking a couple away, trying to change the flow of it. Kind of the same way, like we did an actual woods field 2 years before that.
Okay.
And that was a stalemate city. But in all seriousness, like they tried really hard to make it to where you could get across the field. And, I think we actually did that. We did stalemate a team. We couldn't get across the field, but, I think we posted the first win on that field, like full out win.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to throw Josh Connolly under the bus, but I'm pretty sure it was that.
Well, that was my team. I'm under the bus.
Were you playing that one?
I don't know if I was playing that event with him. That might have been his Hate Squad event. Okay, yeah. Not my team, then we're good. He played the following year with us.
Yeah, we struggled on that. We tried to mess around with it some more, but that's why I went back to that hybrid field instead of the pure woods, just because it was very difficult. And when you go to, I mean, a lot of these fields can be difficult, like the Pro DNA one. I am blanking
The farm.
Yeah. And that's a real thin, that field's wild how thin it is. I don't know if you've been there before. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, but it's very, very thin. So, but then you go to like Pittsburgh, and that field's massive with a big hill, and you can't see half the people on the field, and I think that's part of the fun of these big fields is like, it's fun to play hyperball. I love hyperball. I think, the finals on hyperball is probably my favorite, but like we've been playing finals, like Pro DNA, we played finals on the mound, and that was a lot of fun. Kind of stepped on it there, but there was blood in the water.
Yeah.
But, like that's one of the big things about the 10-man thing. It's just so fun to like to figure out a way to work together and then be able to talk about it and strategize. And it's not just, having a 22-year-old or an 18-year-old kid that's a speed freak and can run really, really fast repeatedly to the same bunker over and over. It's about, figuring out how to get into the best position on the field to shoot people and, where the blind shots are and working together with codes and such to be able to, bait people out or to pinch them out of bunkers from, 4 different shooters shooting at them, that kind of stuff. It takes more skill.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best way to put it. You got some really smart individuals out there putting together game plans. And, you might think a team, they're real fast and they're real aggressive, but they play this field completely different because they see something that you don't. And, they found a different game plan. And, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But like that for me is where it's fun because you get to go out there and try all these different things. And, you've got to work together on the field and communicate and figure out these little, how to go through and bunker somebody if they're holding the field up or something,
Yeah.
That kind of stuff's a lot of fun for me.
Yeah. And it's just, I feel like in 10-man, you can win against a better technical team if you have a better strategy and better communication.
Yeah, absolutely. You can get a team that's younger and faster and, maybe they're all semi-pro or something like that, current, and better at snap shooting and all that. And, it's like, cool, you're better at snap shooting than me. I don't do it anymore. I'm going to ignore you and shoot this guy over here or move up here and shoot somebody in the back and, let somebody else worry about him. It's like, we always talk about it being a game of angles, so in 10-man, it's like, hey, this guy's putting him right by my ear. I'm going to chill, go somewhere else and shoot at somebody else. So,
yeah,
it definitely is an equalizer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a pretty big one. And a game of patience too, like sometimes you just got to let it develop a little bit.
You see a lot of the faster teams like that. They'll try to push real hard or run real far and lose people off the break. And, it's like, we're going to get to that bunker. We're just not running there off the break. We're going to crawl up to it after, 30 seconds or a minute or two into the game. We're going to get there though, So it's really, really cool to watch some of these big brain moves where, like Roy and Hart are working together with Barton, Tyler and the Snake or something to get a push or to figure out where a guy is so that we can work across the field to get in a position to shoot that guy, or just literally baiting somebody out into the open, letting them think they're not even being shot at anymore. And then there's somebody just waiting on them. So there's a lot of trickery and stuff in there too.
Yeah. It's a good format for a trickster for sure. Again, Aaron Thawley, I'm pretty sure. He definitely baited me at World Cup one year on the Mounds field, and I just straight up fell for it. I didn't feel bad about getting tricked by him, though. That's a pretty good paintball mind.
Yeah, you set the trap and let people fall into it sometimes.
Yeah, and I crawled straight into that mouse trap. So the ICPLs you'll be doing, you guys gonna try either as Gridlock or Trauma to do any of the mechanical stuff at the NXLs or?
I'm not sure. I have not been part of a discussion about that. I'm not aware if we are. I'm not saying we're not. I'm not aware that we are. So, like I said, Tyler is basically kind of running the ship on that. We got a little steering committee, if you will.
Okay.
And they have not communicated that to me. So, that'd be a question for him.
All right. Fair enough. I have to get him on too. So starting to get deep enough where I feel like I can start making those phone calls. So, and by the way, thank you for coming on. Like,
Oh, 100%. I appreciate it. Like, honestly, I'm honored that you asked me. So I really appreciate you having me on.
Well, you've been a staple in Carolina paintball for a long time. And that's the mission of this podcast, is really to tell some of the new stories, but also like go back and get some of the old stories and get some of the history down, man. Cause there's not a lot of Gridlock and trauma footage out there. Like,
it's actually kind of funny that you say that, because there's not, like there's some, like, a bunch of trauma head stuff back in the day. And Jeff Gallatin has been slowly posting some of that stuff. There is one video of Gridlock playing. I think it was like 01 maybe. 2000 or 01, I don't know. It was in World Cup, and the PMI filled with the fish, and you just hear Jimbo the fish.
Yeah. They got some. Where is it?
I think K3 Productions. Some of that old stuff is still out there, but it's kind of blurry, and it's not any of the 10-man stuff. But there were quite a few of the DVDs that had some, had more Gridlock and more trauma games in there. But I don't have any of those VHS tapes or DVDs anymore. I never owned any of them. They were all at the store.
Yeah. Once you leave the store, all that stuff has to stay, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, to Rob, I mean, there's a couple of stuff there, a couple of videos there. But like you said, it's kind of hard to find some of the stuff.
Yeah, and some of it will make its way onto YouTube, and then it'll be there for a little bit, and then it disappears for whatever reason. And I don't know if someone copyright claims it or what, but
believe it or not, I've got a VHS here somewhere that got some trauma and Gridlock practices from back in the day, but I don't have a working VCR anymore.
Yeah, those are hard to find, aren't they?
Yeah, they're expensive. I got it to play a little bit, and then something broke inside of it. So luckily, the tape seemed to be okay. So maybe at some point again, I'll be able to transfer it to a different media and watch it.
Yeah, take it to one of those guys that will do it for you.
Yeah, luckily there's a lot of pictures. Warpig used to come out and take a lot of pictures, and you can still go back to the tournament section of Warpig. I don't know if everybody knows what Warpig is. All the younger kids, Warpig Paintball, World and Regional Informational Paintball Guide, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
But Dawn and Bill Mills, like, they were awesome people, and they still are. But all those pictures are still up. So I go back in there every now and again when somebody asks, like, what year did y'all do this? And I'm like, oh, yeah, man, we finished second at that event. That's awesome. So I'm glad that's still up.
Yeah, I mean, what a treasure trove. And, like, thank both of them for keeping that site still up. Because there's no way it's generating revenue for them anymore. But, like, it's definitely paintball history.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's not archived, but it's like the old archives.
Yeah.
You can go still find it. And you can see where it goes from, the NPPL to PSP to NPPL, PSP, and then the NXL. I can't remember how far they went with it, but you can see all those events. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it definitely goes into the MPPE. It goes past the split for sure. I don't know if it goes into the USPL and all that fun stuff.
I can't remember how far it goes.
So did you get to play 7-man with Trauma when they went into the MPPL or Image? I can't remember which name they went under.
I think I only played 2. I played Boston and Tampa.
Okay, nice.
So when I got on Trauma, like the traveling to Europe was already done. During the 10-man days, all those kids got to go to Europe and Spain and all over the place. I had an opportunity to play with them back then when they picked up a couple guys from our team, and I just, I wanted to stay with the team that I started. So I missed my opportunity there, but I wouldn't take it back. But we started getting into 7-man, I think it was, did we start in 06 or 07? I can't remember. I know in 07's when I played, because Merck and James Weber, Brent and all were playing.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure when they made the jump over.
I can't remember if they played in 06 or not. I played in 07.
Okay. So got a couple of those. How was that going to that format from being in X-Ball for so long at that point?
I think we struggled a little bit. We still won a bunch of games, or most of our games. I can't remember how we finished in those, but it was different. And I find myself still to this day playing 10-man sometimes, like trying to push a little too much.
Okay.
I was always never real fast, but always like to make aggressive bump. And I still to this day will push real hard down the field, and I have to have somebody sometimes tell me like, slow down, stop pushing so hard. Like we're playing a different format. But during that time frame, the 7-man, I'm pretty sure a little bit of it was a struggling trying to push into guns and stuff versus kind of that mindset of like just go. There, you don't have to sit here for so long. I guarantee you, I don't remember any of us having time.
Yeah. Yeah.
A couple of guys probably did, but the most of us weren't wearing timers. I don't.
Yeah. The old Radio Shack timer on the back of the goggle strap.
I do know back in the day in 10-man, I had I just took the watch band and cut it off and just glued it to my Revolution back then.
to the Revy.
Yeah. I've still got one of the JT timers too.
Do you?
Still functional. Yeah.
Nice.
I replaced the battery and it works just fine, but the loader's not going to keep up with these Met guns these days.
No, they've gotten crazy fast.
Yeah. Almost too fast, but not really. You still have to be able to do it.
Yeah. Mark Henley can shoot a insane amount.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I look at him and don't understand how.
Yeah.
I don't know how he doesn't break paint all the time.
He's built different in that regard for sure. What's been the coolest guy that you've gotten to reconnect with since like the resurgence into 10-man mechanical?
That's a pretty tough question, actually, because I think I would struggle to say like one person.
Okay. Well, is it just all the guys been back together?
Yeah. I mean, like, if you're going back into it and going back to events again, gosh, man, like the amount of people that you meet through the year, traveling the country, playing tournament paintball. Like there's friends to this day that I only see at the paintball events, right? Like, and we might not even communicate in between them, but like when we see each other at the events, it's, hey, what's up? Hugs and, high fives or whatever, and talking like you hadn't been apart for the years or the months or whatever it's been, it's like, and I touched on this a few times in the past, but like the camaraderie between a lot of the people in this sport is unheard of for other sports.
Yeah.
Like you don't get to be on the Panthers and then see, I don't know, one of the other NFL teams. I don't watch, but they're not like buddies on and off the field all the time. You know what I mean? Like where like in the game at the game, they go there for the games, they play each other, they leave. I'm sure some of them are friends, but like they don't get there and hobnob around and go to a bar at night or, eat at the same restaurant and hang out for a little while or, any of that kind of stuff. Whereas, you walk down to the hotel lobby and there's half the people that you're going to play against down in the lobby saying, hey, what's up? Morning, all that kind of stuff. Obviously for me, like, Shannon, Alan, Tyler, David Wooten, Ryan Hart, like, I don't want to say all their names, Jay Wall, Stephen Porterfield, like all that whole group. And I'm not trying to leave anybody out, but like that whole group of people, like being able to reconnect with them and see them more often. It helps make the work week bearable. It's reconnecting and rekindling a bunch of friendships that you had for a long time. When you travel around and do that kind of stuff competitively, you build a deep friendship that apparently seems to last for forever. With a lot of these guys, like you might not see the same dude for another 3 years, but you'll run into him at an event or in another town or whatever. And it's like, you never skipped a beat. So, and that's even with people like Roy, we knew each other back in the day and probably hung out a little bit, but like we didn't talk a whole lot back then, but like meeting each other up again and hanging out, it's like, yeah, I'm pretty, trying to remember exactly like when did we this bar and that, like talking in between events and, like Jesse Lyon came out to visit. I don't know if you remember him. He was another contract killer. Jesse Lyon came out and visited this past year and hung out and played Fold a Gap with us. And it literally hadn't seen this guy in probably since 2007, I'd say. And it was like we had not literally just the same dudes, just old, a little more experiences. But yeah, like we saw each other the week before. So, yeah, that's the cool thing about all this stuff, man. Like it's obviously about being competitive and having a good time, but then it's also about being able to connect with all these friends.
Yeah.
So, that's what does it for me, is being around. So went out this past weekend. Wasn't a lot of people there, but got to hang out with a couple of my friends, play a little bit of paintball, and then come home. We're going to do it again this weekend.
Nice.
So it's the friendship stuff, man. Like, that's been.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think, playing with and against helps forge those friendships too, for whatever, you're doing something hard together. So.
Yeah. And for me too, like, one of the things is seeing like all these kids that used to shop in our stores and be at the events and stuff. Now I see them as adults with kids and stuff. And, and they're coming back out and they're like, "Oh man, you're still around." I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Awesome. We get to play paintball together." I'm like, "Absolutely."
That's awesome. Yeah, no, yeah. So my buddy Chris Robinson, who you might know, yeah, his two boys started playing when we came back, and it's been fun to play generational paintball with them. So,
yeah, I agree with you. My friend Shannon, I met him when they had just had their baby, Brandon, and now he's getting married here in a couple weeks or a month or so, and that's he started wanting to play paintball, and that's why he got back into it, and that's also what helped me get back into it. So all these young kids that are brought up by these paintball players are going and playing paintball and getting the dads back out again.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And it's really the only sport where you could do that, outside. I guess like you guys could run like a race car team or something, but there's only one driver there. There's one participant. You can be support staff, but you can't go out, or most people can't go out and race their son on the racetrack.
Exactly. We do have a drag racer on the team.
Yeah.
Jay Walden has a really, I say really nice, a fast Mustang. Very fast.
Nice. Taking it out to the local tracks.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he had to rebuild some stuff on it. He had a small wreck where he didn't get hurt, but the car suffered a little bit. But yeah, I don't know where he races. I don't know. We're gonna have to go watch next time he does it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be a fun team night.
The Trauma logo on.
Yeah, yeah, deck it out.
But like you said, there's no other sport where you can do that really. Like, you can think about even like the things like frisbee golf and all that kind of stuff. You don't go to the frisbee golf field. You go to a course and you play with a couple people.
Yeah.
There's not like 30 people that you show up and get to see that weekend.
Yeah.
Or at least not in my experience with.
Yeah, not mine either. So you kind of have your little group, and that's who you stick with. What's one of the? Let me do this question instead. Where's a place you'd like to see the ICPL go?
I don't think it can go back there, only because they don't have a field there anymore. I don't know if you ever played you probably did not, but the field that used to be up behind Old Town was pretty neat.
No, I did not get to play that one.
There's all these, I don't know what they're called, the plants down there, the palm fronds and stuff that were on the ground. You could crawl underneath them, and paintballs would stop on the top of them. I don't really know. I do want to see more variety in the fields, like I want to continue to see variety in the fields, like, so, you got Pittsburgh, you got Woods Field, you got a Mounds Field, you got a Hyperball Field. And I'm fine with those three. And, just seeing them making a few bunker changes here or there, or just leaving the same year after year. But, not going somewhere where it's all concept. Tampa wasn't quite like that. It wasn't all concept. They had a Mounds Field, but, it would have been cool. They had, where everybody was staging was up in the woods. It'd been cool to play a Woods Field. But then they also had a really big hyperball field. And then they had some sort of like, it was like hybrid with like some dirt mounds, those big water storage containers, and some hyperball. So I mean, they had variety. I wasn't disappointed in anything down there, but I like being able to play in the wood, because I think that brings out those sneaky players. And I'm not talking about like, sneaky as in like playing gray areas. I'm talking about like sneaky, figuring out a lane to crawl through, which we haven't seen a whole lot of, but you do see it still sometimes, where people find blind spots. And if they leave enough of the brush and they don't try to mow everything down, people can do some pretty neat crawling. I've seen some very interesting moves from people doing that kind of stuff. Like just crawling through the brush, and you get within like 10 feet of somebody and they have no clue you're there. And then you just come up and bunker.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's what I liked about World Cup Mounds. They didn't bushwhack it at all. So it was all overgrown for 5-man, and you could be really sneaky. But by the time it was for 10-man, everything had been shot to shit. So
Yeah.
it played different each day, which made it kind of fun.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, that like playing in Pittsburgh that first year that we played, second year, where they had that new Mounds field and it was just dirt. That was a lot of fun too. Because, I mean, it kind of sucks sometimes when you see a ball go this way, hit the piece of grass and go right in the face. That happened to me in Tampa. I'm literally behind the bunker because I saw the guy start shooting at me and I duck in and I see a ball and go straight into my goggles. I look at the ref. I'm like, did you see that? He's like, yeah, but you're still out. I was like, I agree, man.
Shot's a shot. It breaks.
Yeah. Like, I'm not arguing. That was just funny.
Yeah.
Like, I just wanted to make sure somebody else saw me.
I'd love to have you back on maybe later into the season of the ICPL and kind of catch up with you guys, and if you're game. Thank you again for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Why don't we start wrapping it up with go ahead and shout out anyone who supported the team or is going to support the team.
Yeah, so obviously I want to give a shout out to everybody that's on the team for stepping up and playing again and being a part of this. Tyler and Paintball Central is stepping up and helping us. My phone is shifting. But, we don't really have any paintball sponsors per se, but we do have a gentleman on the team that's company is really helping us out, and that's the Print Path and David Wooten, and they're really stepping up to help us this year. Alan Barker, Custom Trim, they've both been really big, and definitely want to thank them for stepping up and helping us out this year.
Awesome.
So other than that, we're working with some other vendors, about some small things, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself and throw any other names out there because I'm not sure 100% who all else will be working with this as we move forward with the team, but definitely can't forget those two.
All right. Well, hey, we got them in the shout out, and we'll catch up with you later in the ICPL season for sure, and we can shout out the other guys then.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on, man.
All right. I appreciate it, man. Have a great night.
Thanks for tuning in to the Planet Paintball podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Whether you're out there grinding in the divisional pits or chasing dreams on the pro stage, remember, it's all about the passion, the hustle, and the love for the sport. Shout out to 1023 Sportswear for sponsoring the show. Don't forget to use code Planet Paintball at checkout for 20% off your order. Gear up, save big. Until next time, keep grinding, keep growing, and we'll see you back here on the Planet Paintball podcast